From the Arizona Daily Star and Tucson.com, this is the Wildcast.
Another episode of the Wildcast podcast coming your way here on Apple, Spotify, other podcasting platforms, also on the Wildcaster mobile app, which you should download for free off the App Store and Google Play. Not everything is free on that app. If you want the full package, you got to subscribe to Tucson.com. But crazy deal on Tucson.com. Brett, what's the deal? Isn't it it's like $1 a month essentially? Or what's the deal for Tucson.com?
Me on the spot for this? Oh man, I am horrible.
Hey, digital subscriptions. Brad is going to look it up right now while we're talking, but it's a great
cheap
deal. It's a great deal.
Well,
I mean, it's like less than it's less than like a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Like how much do you spend at the bar on Friday night? You could get a year's worth of our stuff, and we have some subscriber only content.
Yeah.
You get everything. You also get the e-edition, which is basically the newspaper itself, but in a digital form. You can just kind of flip through the pages, and it looks just like the newspaper. We put out these extra pages for late night events, like the Diamondbacks, those games were ending just after our deadline. Nice to see the Diamondbacks advance. Nice to see Kevin Ginkel have a good first game of the series after I wrote about him. That was pretty cool. He was very fired up after pumping a 97 mile per hour fastball in for the last strike of his second inning in Game 1.
He's always pumped up. It was fun going through the old photos of him and looking at little moments during the 2016 College World Series where he was thinner and not as much of a man. Yeah. He was a college kid, but you could still see the same in him, and just the look on his face, that kind of bulldog look, was pretty cool. But so I actually had it wrong. I was thinking it was a variation of the recent offer, the subscription offer for the Star and Tucson.com, which had been $1 a month for 5 months. This is $1 for 6 months. You were right. $1 for 6 months.
Total?
Oh my gosh. That's the starting point.
How can you pass that up?
Yeah, seriously.
But I want to be honest with everybody here. We recognize that some subscribers, and Michael Lev has been wonderful dealing with folks. Justin has got me in touch with people that occasionally there are issues with getting things up and running with a subscription. The biggest issue we have is that for some reason on occasion, it's not all the time, it's a small percentage of the time, but for those of you it's impacted, we appreciate your persistence with us. Credit cards are perfectly valid and fine, but just it's not registering the zip code or the address, and it's basically declining that. And please let us know if that happens. Reach out to Justin, Michael, me, all of us via X or Twitter, email, whatever you want. And we can get you in contact with someone on the ground here in Tucson. This is a local person that will take care of you and get you set up.
Yeah, my email's in my bio on X/Twitter. So whether it's you have a question about U of A sports or customer service related issues, drop me a line. We'll help you out.
Customer service related issues, is that only at the Star? Or can I tell you about other customer service issues?
Bring it.
Oh,
we don't want to.
Not for a podcast.
Oh, I thought you had one. I thought you had a list.
Hey, we don't want to alienate any potential sponsors here, Justin. So keep that offline. All right.
I will. All right, let's get into Arizona versus USC. Big one on Saturday in Los Angeles. Number 9 ranked USC. Arizona coming off their loss to Washington. Arizona looked pretty good against the Washington Huskies last week. However, I don't think that Arizona needs to get into a 2-touchdown hole, because if they get into a 2-touchdown hole on the road against a team like Los Angeles or USC, I get that USC's defense is a little shaky, and even when they got up big against Colorado in Boulder, the Buffaloes still found a way to chip away and get back into the game, and they only lost by a touchdown. But we've seen so far this season Arizona really struggle in games because of that first quarter. They've been outscored 31-7 in the first quarter, but according to Jet Fish, they've been outscoring opponents in the second, third, and fourth quarter. Against USC, you guys tell me, do you think that they could overcome a slow start and still have a fighter's chance in this game?
It's not an enviable position. It's not something that they want to do or need to do. I think it's the worst. Assuming that Noah Fifita starts again, okay, and that's probably the likeliest scenario. We don't know for sure. Jaden Delores on the mend. He'll be back at some point, and Jed indicated when he's healthy, he's going to start.
Yeah.
But let's say that for the case of this hypothetical here, that it's Noah Fifita. He's a second-year player. He's made a start. He's never started a road game. It's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
I know the Coliseum, it's maybe not the best home field advantage in the conference. It's not Utah. It's not Oregon. But that's a tough set of circumstances to be out there down 7-0 or 14-0, crowd going crazy, Caleb Williams making big plays. You want to play from ahead, have it at least be a back and forth game, be able to kind of utilize your whole offense, not put so much pressure on a young, still relatively inexperienced quarterback. So I think that's just a recipe for disaster if they fall down by double digits early again.
Well, we always hear the term "it's personal." Jed Fish made it the slogan of the program when he first got here. Deion Sanders has popularized it over the last several months. But this game is personal for a lot of reasons, because a lot of these kids played in Los Angeles. They grew up there. They went to high school there. And now we're going to see Noah Fifita kind of play in a personal game because he's back home in L.A. A lot of his teammates are from the area. He's going to have a lot of friends and family there. But we saw with Jaden Delora, when it gets into personal games, like last year against Washington State, he plays a little erratic and plays out of sorts. This is going to be the first time we have Noah Fifita in a personal game, and we're going to see how he's able to kind of handle the pressure. I mean, I'm really excited to see how he can do that.
And even a different way, it's personal too, because you've got those three players who were starters here playing for USC. And Dorian Singer, Christian Roland Wallace, and Keon Bars. I wonder if there's going to be some trash talk going on. Another thing you want to avoid in a game like this is the unnecessary 15-yard penalty. We talked to Taylor Upshaw about that this week. This is not a personal game for him. He came from Michigan. Mm-hmm. He's going to be here for 1 year. He's played really well. He leads the team in sacks. He also leads the team in penalties. Right? And a lot of those have been kind of those extracurricular type things. And he said, I got to be smarter, plain and simple. And Johnny Nansen said the same thing. So it's going to be really important for all of the Wildcats, whether they're guys who are playing in their hometown or they, feel some sort of vitriol toward their ex-teammates, to kind of keep things under control. Yeah. Stay cool, stay calm, focus on the task at hand. No 15-yard after the whistle penalties.
If Noah Fifita is the guy for Saturday, based on what you saw against the Washington Huskies last week, is he capable of quarterbacking Arizona to a win on Saturday? I think so, for a number of reasons. I mean, he's 1 week better. That's one thing that Jed Fish talked about the start of the week, and you asked him, Lev, about the going 0 for 5 on the deep passes, and Jed just chalked it up to timing. He's always used to throwing to Malachi Riley and Kevin Green and A.J. Jones and the second stringers. Yes, him and T-Mac go back a long, long way in from their days in high school, but that year and a half or year plus, T-Mac and Noah Fifita weren't really working together. It was always Jaden and T-Mac. So I think now that Noah has been able to work an extra week in practice with the starting group, get adjusted to being the guy, I think now you're going to start to see those deep balls start to connect a lot more, especially against a USC defense that's got a lot of holes. I mean, they have talent. That's the thing that's so mind-numbing to me, is like they're really talented. They have dudes on that side of the ball, but for some reason they're just giving up a ton of points and a lot of yards.
Something that I think we're underrating a little bit too is the absence of Michael Wiley, who he's kind of seems like he's basically on the same timeline as Jaden at this point. Would not expect him to play against USC. You never know. But he was such a good outlet, right? And it's kind of, I mean, I don't know if they're plays by design but he ended up with a lot of receptions. Yeah. Okay. Not that Jonah Coleman isn't capable of doing that. He is a very good receiver, but I feel like subconsciously it's like, if the play's not open downfield, I've got Michael Wiley underneath. And not having that option, I think makes things challenging for them too. When you watch them all run, like Jonah Coleman, he's got a lot more moves in the open field, right? He plows through people. DJ Williams is like literally trucking people out there. We like to talk about that because he's got a monster truck that he drives around.
No, it's literally a monster truck.
There's Michael Wiley, and I wrote about this before the season. He's just he's smooth. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he's so reliable. So I think that's something that he was underrated when he was playing, and his absence, I think, is also underrated and overlooked. I had a question for you, Brett. I did not mention this in my cat stats story. Like the one sort of factor that might have led those players to go to USC is the chance to win, be in the college football playoff, something they probably wouldn't experience here. And I tried to look at each guy, whether it was a good move for them to go. En masse, do you think that's like it was the right move for those guys? Leave here and go there.
No, but that's because that's easy with hindsight. I mean, if Dorian Singer had 50 catches for 600 yards right now, of course we would say it's the right move. It's just how it played out. And yes, they're the ones who have impacted how it played out. But no, I don't think it was the right move. But at the same time, I don't believe they went thinking, I'm not going to play as much. Maybe I'm thinking of Singer mostly when I say this, but I don't think all those guys went thinking, I'm not going to play as much, but I want to be on a team that wins 9 or 10 or 11, 12 games and gets to a playoff. I think they're thinking both those things are going to happen. They're being told both those things are going to happen or implied both those things are going to happen. They know the story about Dorian Singer against USC last year, and that you've chronicled, and people say on the USC team, we're going to get him,
tampering.
They know it's not tampering if a player does it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
It just depends what the coach did with that information.
But it was just
speaking of tampering, is it perfect timing this week that we learn that Jonah Coleman is a Dodge Ram TRX when Utah decides to give their entire team Dodge Rams? What uniform is he wearing next year? That's all I want to ask right now. Is this a recruiting ploy without being a recruiting ploy? Justin's story this week chronicled Jonah Coleman and the team. We just talked about this a little bit, but have nicknames based on cars. And Jonah, one's a Ferrari, one's a Lamborghini, one's a Jeep, and Jonah Coleman's a Dodge Ram TRX.
It's crazy. Like you have two supercars. The Jeep Trackhawk is like a SUV sport car hybrid, but can go really fast. And then you got a truck that just slogs up the road. But
it's a versatile sport truck,
it's
which is what Jonah Coleman is,
according to MotorTrend.com. Versatile, do-it-all sport truck, and that's kind of what. Yeah, you're right. That's what Jonah Coleman is.
So I want to know which Utah players got a TRX out of the deal. And are they going to be giving Jonah Coleman rides when they drive him down to Tucson in a few weeks?
Jonah's sending out signals, maybe?
Oh, man.
Utah?
No.
Of course not.
No. Man. But I totally forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about the guys at SC and whether going was a good move.
Oh, yeah. I think it was a good move for maybe a guy like a Dorian Singer because, USC, high profile, you're in Los Angeles. I'm sure maybe NIL was discussed with, potentially coming over to USC. And that's one thing about being in Los Angeles is there are a lot of opportunities for NIL. I mean, that's why we're talking about maybe Caleb Williams returning to USC. I don't really buy that a whole lot. I don't put too much stock into that.
0.0% chance of that happening.
But man, it's interesting though that that's a conversation that people are having. Like you're making so much in NIL money that you could possibly come back to school for another year based on who's got the number one overall pick.
I mean, look, he could still have some stumbles along the way here, but he's not going to get better as a player going against college competition.
Yeah.
Also you want to start your clock for that second contract. And that same GQ article that his dad talked about and possibly coming back to school, I think Caleb said he wanted to win 8 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, I think you should kind of get started as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, I got a tweet here or a reply from Hate 1987 is the handle. about Dorian. Business decision. At USC, he won't be run into the ground, but will still get the chance to put together decent film and have every single scout looking at him weekly.
Yeah.
Also, he likely got some NIL money too. Good decision, and why USC should be on every elite portal players list. I think the point about the scouts is a really good one because there's a million scouts watching Caleb Williams, like every single throw that he makes, and if you're on the other end of those, they'll notice you too.
Making some pretty cool snags.
Yeah, I mean the flip side of that is like to me these days, like if you're good, the NFL will find you.
Yeah.
Where did Austin Eckler go to school?
No
Your boy.
idea.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't like Colorado School of Mines or something?
Yes, yeah.
So, they'll find you.
I mean, to the point of Williams and the 8 Super Bowls, I mean, there has not been, and it's not because they're not good enough. It's because of the circumstances they go into when they're a number 1 pick. There hasn't been a number 1 pick to come close to that. As crazy as it sounds, the closest number 1 pick to any kind of sustained success as a quarterback, as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, has been basically Eli Manning. I mean, really, that's it. I mean, yes.
Peyton won a couple.
Peyton won a couple that were
Took
spread
a while.
apart. First round picks. Joe Flacco was a first round pick, right? Late.
First round.
Right.
Not number 1
Right.
overall.
Matthew Stafford was number 1 overall, wasn't he?
Yes.
Mahomes wasn't.
No.
Brady, of course, wasn't. Nick Foles wasn't. Manning was. Russell Wilson was 3rd round. Aaron Rodgers was late 1st round. Drew Brees was early 2nd round. Roethlisberger was mid 1st round,
Yeah,
right?
like 11th or so, yeah.
Brad Johnson. I'm going back 20 years now. And you're talking about Peyton and Eli.
Yeah.
Like, so at some point, I mean, and he can't control this. At some point, like, give me that 3rd round money. I want to pick my team. I don't need to go number 1. Just say no. Just say no to 26 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's going to do that, and I don't think he should, but it's interesting to balance those two things of whether or not leaving is going to benefit him or not. But maybe if he's that transcendent, if he's the guy that's going to change the game, then he will do that out of the number 1 spot. But it's never been him before.
Austin Eckler went to Western Colorado University, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you a Bears fan, Lev?
I mean, I kind of was, not really anymore. I grew up one, but I've kind of drifted away from it.
I was going to say, your future quarterback of the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams.
I mean, like, to Brett's point, like, if
might
you're
get the number
him,
2
like,
pick.
why would you want to go to that organization?
Well, if they have the number 2 pick, then you get
They're
Marvin Harrison
such
Jr.
a train
too.
wreck.
You get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. And there's a lot of history there, too, with the Bears. I think
The Bears have never had a good quarterback. You know this, like,
Yes.
ever, pretty much. Jay Cutler is the most prolific and successful modern-day quarterback of the Chicago Bears. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Smoke.
And
Jay.
and Jim McMahon 2nd. I mean, you're right. It's not a murderer's row of.
Boy, it's so bad. so bad. We're getting a little off track, though.
how do
because-
you slow him down, though?
Okay.
Caleb Williams?
I think
the plan?
you need to confuse him. You need to mush rush, keep him contained in the pocket. He is and Johnny Nansen said this, he's a different beast from Michael Penix. Michael Penix likes to operate from the pocket. Really doesn't want to scramble. Likes both really good at throwing the ball downfield. Caleb can make those plays where if it breaks down, he can run for a big gain or he can keep a play alive. And it's really hard to cover for a long period of time, sticking with your guy. So I think they need to keep him in the pocket, and have that kind of like controlled rush where they're not flying upfield. And just try to throw different looks at him, try to confuse him.
So last week, we talked about the dollar package and how the defensive back heavy scheme could really help out Arizona in stopping the pass. But we talked about the one linebacker right there in the middle. And I suggested maybe having Justin Flo go full Bobby Boucher and just look at the quarterback and just chase him every single time. Can you do that against a USC? And see, I worry about having Justin Flo in that scenario. And I feel like Justin Flo can only play on Saturday in the 2 linebacker set, but you have him as a spy watching Caleb Williams the entire time. Because I fear with him bull rushing the quarterback, the middle is going to be just so open.
Yep.
And Caleb Williams is just going to sit there and just carve up Arizona's defense, and they're not going to have any response for it. So if you have Justin Flo as the spy, maybe have him alongside Jacob Manu or Daniel Haimuli or whoever.
I don't think you can do it out of that If they were going to do that, which again, this is just our speculation. They've never shown any inclination to do a package like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was. I think I brought that idea up to you on the radio show, just because he's so athletic.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of like basically mirroring him, shadowing him shadowing Caleb wherever he goes. But you do kind of want to have that additional presence in the middle of the field. And you certainly don't want to bring your safeties up to cover that territory because Caleb will just go over the top and beat you. He's so good. He's so good at throwing downfield. I don't know. I said during the Pac-12 championship game or something last year, I tweeted that Caleb Williams is like Patrick Mahomes but with a better arm. So you can imagine a lot of the Patrick Mahomes fans were like, oh, we keep hearing this. There's always someone coming along who's supposed to be like Patrick Mahomes but better. I was not trying to diss Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I just think if you watch him, he has a stronger arm.
Yeah.
And has a lot of like similar tendencies in terms of the way that he plays. He is on, we're talking about Noah being 0 for 5 on balls thrown 20-plus yards. This season, Caleb is 14 for 26.
Wow.
584 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception on passes 20-plus yards.
That's insane.
To be over 50% on those is kind of nuts.
And have more touchdowns than interceptions, right?
10-1?
10-1, yeah.
And he's only thrown 1 pick the whole year. He might win the Heisman again.
Wow.
Yeah, he is a singular talent. I was saying this to Justin offline, but we're going to go to that game, and there's going to be a handful of plays where we're just like, our jaws will drop.
Yeah.
Because he just has that talent, running left, running right, leaping out of bounds.
There was one touchdown pass he had last year when he was rolling left, and the way he like flipped his hips or like switched it, and just
never seen a guy do it quite like that.
And with that much velocity and power on the ball,
when you're basically fading away, right?
Yeah, it's unreal.
It really is.
Now, all right,
yeah.
Should we do Pac-12 picks?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's only 4 games this week.
Can I ask one quick question?
Oh yeah,
though?
go.
2 things. I want to do my own stat boy thing. I did forget. If we go back a little further, Troy Aikman won 3 titles out of the number 1 draft pick spot. Terry Bradshaw 4. So we're getting back.
That's a long time ago.
Decades and decades. My only thing with Caleb Williams that I don't understand. It's not about him. It's not even criticizing Lincoln Riley. It's how did Spencer Rattler start half a season before they realized, let's give the ball to Caleb Williams? How did they just not know that this is the guy that has to play?
Oh my
I was
gosh,
like,
I totally forgot.
That reminds me of like
how do they just not know? Spencer Rattler was fine, not good. That's why he got benched, but fine to the point he's still a college starting quarterback.
Sam
Darnold like that?
You know who didn't start in the beginning of the 2017 season? Khalil Tate. And then he won 4 consecutive Pac-12 Player of the Week awards.
We've seen this before.
Sometimes it's hard to.
Yeah.
I have a theory. We've talked about this many times with the athletic quarterbacks who can make a lot of off-platform plays, run, etc. It's hard to see that in practice sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's a more controlled environment. They blow the whistle as soon as they cross the line of scrimmage a lot of times. So I don't know. Spencer Rattler is pretty good too, and still is pretty good.
South
I think he'll make an NFL roster. His own self. Did you have another one, Brett?
Nope, that was right.
Okay.
Troy Aikman.
You know who Terry Bradshaw is, right, Justin?
Yeah, he's on Fox Sunday.
Oh yeah, okay. Talking about Fox.
It's crazy. Like you mention certain people, and you're like, how do you know this person? Like growing up, I didn't watch Charles Barkley, the basketball player. I watched Charles Barkley on TNT, and that's the thing that kind of upsets me. I know we're digressing here a little bit, but a lot of kids don't know about prime Charles Barkley. Like I know about Charles Barkley because I love basketball, and I've seen a lot of the highlights. I've watched Charles Barkley play on YouTube and stuff like that. Charles Barkley was Zion Williamson before Zion Williamson. Really, he was a beast, and he'll always be known as the TNT guy. But anyways, let's get into picks.
Yeah, all right. We'll start with Washington State, ranked 13th in the country, at UCLA. This is a noon kickoff at the Rose Bowl, so you can only imagine how pleasant that'll be for all parties involved. There's always kind of a dead atmosphere for those kind of games. Maybe Washington State will bring some fans down, but UCLA is actually favored in this game by 3.5. Does Vegas know something that we don't? The Cougars are 4-0. Bruins are 3-1. Last time we saw them, really struggled offensively against Utah, scored only 7 points in that game. They had a bye week to kind of get things back together. I think this is a really hard game to handicap. What do you say, Justin?
Yeah, this is a difficult game to pick, but I give a ton of credit to Washington State. We did not expect them to have this kind of season, and so far they have wins over ranked opponents. Number 19, Wisconsin. Number 14, Oregon State. As Lev mentioned, kind of taking some time off. I think getting right, hitting the reset button, and preparing for UCLA on the road. I got the Cougars pulling off this one. They get their 5th win of the season, which sets up for one hell of a matchup for Jaden Delora's homecoming.
Washington State by 3 touchdowns. They're going to absolutely annihilate UCLA.
Wow. Okay.
No debate. I'm still saying Washington State, Washington in the Apple Cup unbeaten at the end of the year for not just a Pac-12 championship appearance, but a playoff appearance.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to take UCLA in this one. Couple things. One, I think the bye week was a good thing for their freshman quarterback, Dante Moore, to take a breath, take a step back, take a look at things. I think Chip Kelly is a really good coach who will get some things fixed, and they have a really good defense. I think they're first in the country in yards allowed per play. So I don't love the spread. I don't feel super duper confident in it, but I will go against you guys on that one and take the Bruins at the Rose Bowl. All right, now we have another afternoon game, also on Pac-12 networks. This is Colorado visiting Arizona State. I think I'd given you guys a line of -4 for the Buffaloes. It's now -3.5 as we're recording this. Potential letdown situation for the Buffs here, coming off of that huge emotional wild game against USC.
Yep.
Not going to have the same kind of buzz in terms of TV or crowd at ASU. 3:30 game in Tempe. It's going to be hot. All that being said, the Sun Devils have a gazillion injuries. Colorado has Shedeur Sanders. ASU does not. I'm going to take the Buffs and lay those 3.5 points.
This is a personal game for a number of reasons.
Are things personal?
Things are personal. Well, Kenny Dillingham and Deion Sanders, I didn't know this, but they're actually buddies. Like, according to Deion Sanders, him and Kenny Dillingham were like very close to working with each other.
Dillingham confirmed it this week too.
That actually happened. Yeah. So I don't know what school it was. I don't know where. I don't know what all the details were, and Deion and Kenny Dillingham didn't really talk about it. But they were very close to working with each other, and so they have a great respect for each other. Deion Sanders lauded Kenny Dillingham and said that he's a mind, and he has a great mind, and he's great for college football. He's going to be a great head coach. So there's a great level of respect. It's going to be crazy to see a Colorado game and things aren't going to have like a hostile feel where two teams just absolutely hate each other. Maybe things change. I don't know. Maybe Kenny Dillingham goes full Jay Norvell and says something funny over the next couple of days. But I think that this game, like Lev said, a bunch of injuries on ASU side. Colorado coming off that emotional game, they almost pulled off the comeback. I mean, they were down by like 3 or 4 tutties at one point, and they rallied back. And so there's a lot of fight in this Buffaloes team. ASU's kind of the doormat of the Pac-12, so I'm going with Colorado to win. What was the spread?
3.5.
I'm going Colorado to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I got Colorado to win. Dillingham was hired November 26th at ASU. Deion was hired December 2nd or 4th. So it's the reverse of what I would have thought if that was the case. I would have thought it would have been him trying to bring Dillingham over from Oregon, but
maybe
unless he was in talks at various places and already talking to Dillingham. So that's interesting. But no, I think it's Colorado. I think ASU had its best chance. I hate saying this, other than Arizona, its best chance to eke out a win last weekend and came oh so close. Against Cal? Do
you think ASU's kicking themselves for hiring Kenny Dillingham instead of Deion Sanders, or not pursuing Deion more? Because when this job opened up, and Deion was kind of putting his feelers out there, I always thought, man, Deion, primetime in Scottsdale, playing up the Scottsdale factor. Phoenix, it's a big city. It's easy to get to. I feel like Deion and ASU would have been a match made in heaven. And it would have had a lot of Arizona fans kind of nervous because I think ASU with Deion, they would – I mean, think about all the buzz that they're getting in Boulder, Colorado. Think about Phoenix, Arizona with Deion.
I think that they probably do have some regrets just given how much of a sensation Deion and the Buffaloes have been. I don't know if it would have been a perfect fit like you're portraying it because if you listen to Deion, like he's kind of a little bit country, and I think he likes the wide open spaces that he's afforded up there in Colorado and pretty urban environment.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, I don't know if he would have been able to find that. I mean, maybe he could have, like bought a ranch or something that wouldn't have been too far from Tempe, but it would have been interesting if they had made that move. All right, so our next game, once again on the Pac-12 networks, triple header for Pac-12. Our Arizona USC game is the only game that is not on Pac-12 networks. This one is Oregon State, ranked 15th in the country, visiting Cal. Oregon State is favored by 9.5. Beavers coming off that big Friday night win at home over Utah. I'll go first on this one. Very torn which way to go spread-wise. I think Oregon State is definitely going to win the game. I have concerns about Cal being able to run the ball. That's kind of their bread and butter with Jaden Ott. Oregon State is 12th in the country in run defense, allowing only 67.2 yards per game. But I think that Justin Wilcox is a good defensive coordinator. And he will come up with some ways to confuse DJ Uiagalelei. A couple interceptions, ugly type of game, kind of a 3 to 7 point game that Oregon State will survive in advance. So I will take the Beavers to win, but the Golden Bears to cover that 9.5.
Brett?
Oregon State wins and covers. I think we're starting to see the separation of the top 5 or 6 teams and the bottom 5 or 6 teams, and I think we're going to start seeing the scores indicate that every week.
Cal's rushing defense isn't that bad. They are fourth in the conference in stopping the run. Oregon State has a really good rushing attack. So I think Cal will have a decent game plan for Saturday, and I think they match up well against Oregon State, but I'm going to go with the Beavers to win.
Hey, you know what, guys? I kind of buried the lead here. I didn't talk about our records from last week, so I apologize, especially to Justin. He was 5-0 against the spread.
He's done that. He's come close to that a few times this year.
Yeah, he had a 7-1 earlier. Mm-hmm. That puts Justin into a clear lead here, first place at 20-13 on the season. Brett, you and I were both 4-1, so we are both 18-15. We also have identical straight up records of 29-4. Justin is 26-7.
That means you picked ASU to win, but not. Wait, didn't you pick ASU to win last week?
You did. You guys both did. Yes.
So how do you go 5-0 against the spread?
They beat the spread.
Yeah,
it was straight up that he lost. He lost the straight up.
What was it, like 4 points? Something like that?
With ASU. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, they were getting 13. So
13?
Anyway, yeah. See, exactly. This is why we all took ASU. This is why it was my pick to click for the week. All righty. So
not like I was sitting here when it was discussed with 13. Cal's not good.
Our last game of the day. Arizona Wildcats at number 9 USC. This game is at 7:30 p.m. It is on ESPN. The over-under on this game, 71.5. Ooh, I don't know, man. That would require
45,
Arizona
26?
to score a lot.
So it's 45-26?
That would be 71, right?
Yeah, that's nuts.
that would kind of require Arizona to score a lot, which they haven't really been doing.
52-19?
52-19.
53-19 would be
72. Yeah. So USC is giving 22 points in this game. The pattern that we have seen from USC, they go out to a big lead and they can't really hold up defensively in the second half, and they kind of let other teams backdoor them. I definitely have some concerns about Arizona that we have talked about earlier in the podcast. Injuries. You know, you like to have those veteran guys available for a road game. Even Jacob Manu, like I think Johnny said, he had to come out of the game, right? And they put Tay Brown in, and like boom, immediately Washington attacks him. So some health issues with some key dudes. All that being said, Jedd Fisch's teams really haven't gotten blown out very often. They fight till the very end. They put up a good battle. They never stop trying. So I think it'll be sort of a similar-ish game to what we saw with Washington last week, where Arizona is able to hang around. They're able to make USC sweat, but not quite enough to win the game. So I'll take the Trojans to win, but U of A to cover that 22.
The key here is getting off to a good start. And that first drive with Noah Fifita as quarterback, assuming he is the starting quarterback. Okay, we don't know who's going to be starting, but just assuming that Noah Fifita is that guy, if they can go out and make Noah feel comfortable, even if it's a field goal, putting together a scoring drive to start the game, you get your young quarterback to feel good about himself on the road, and then you get into a rhythm. Defensively, we'll see how they do against Caleb Williams, but again, that first drive is so important for Arizona. Arizona is 1-14 under Jedd Fisch when opponents scored first. It's not a good record. So I think if Arizona, if they're able to come out and set the tone, maybe the Wildcats pull off the upset. Last year we were talking about Arizona versus UCLA and them being a highly ranked team, them being, the team in Los Angeles and how Arizona's playing at the Rose Bowl one last time. That was a very similar spread to the USC game this year. And Arizona somehow pulled off that upset. This is very tough, but I'm going to go with the Wildcats.
Yeah, Jaden DeLora had a really good game. To win?
I'm going to go with Arizona to win.
Win?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, hey.
This is, I think
Hello.
If Arizona were to come out in that first quarter and put USC on their heels, I think the Wildcats have a fighter's chance. Now, do I feel very confident about this? No, because you're going up against the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. There are so many factors that go into this game that stack up against Arizona. But if that first quarter goes the way I think it will go, then I'm going to go with Arizona to win, and I think the Wildcats are going to win 38-35. That will be my final.
Wow, I will open the floor to you in just a moment, Brett. But you know what the score was at the end of the first quarter of that UCLA game last year?
What was it?
Arizona 14, UCLA nothing.
Yeah.
So to underscore your point, got to get off to a good start for your upset to happen. Brett, what do you think?
Justin and you and I talked about this on your show today on 1490 ESPN Tucson, that the time of possession last week was a very interesting dynamic between Arizona and Washington. And I think a big part of that, as we talked about and you've written about a few times this week, was the way that Washington sort of spread the field horizontally instead of vertically. And I think if we start seeing things like Justin Flo in a spy formation, I know that's kind of our argument. He should be doing that, not necessarily what they're planning, but and the middle of the field opens up, we're going to start seeing, even if it's not 30-yard passes, 15-yard vertical moves by SC. I think once that starts happening, the ball's going to roll downhill for the Trojans. If Arizona can get off to a good start, I see the opposite of what happened against Washington, where they hang in it for 3 quarters and it's a 7-point game, but SC basically turns it around, or not turns it around, but turns it up in the 4th and pulls away. So to me, I'm going to take SC and SC with the points. I think they're going to cover the spread, but I do think it's a closer game than that, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I think it's a 7 or 10 point game going into the 4th that SC finally scores 2 touchdowns as Arizona starts trying to throw the ball deep with Fifita, or even DeLora throws a pick. Things are going to happen in the 4th that are going to basically spread it out. But for 3 quarters, Arizona's going to hang. And as we talked about today, I think Arizona fans have to start getting ready for a ceiling of 6 wins and maybe a 4 or 5 win season that is way better than last year, just because the teams they're playing are that good.
Yeah.
I don't think a 22-point loss means it's a bad game for Arizona. I think how it happens means it's a good or a bad game. Not that they want moral victories, but I think through 3 quarters, Arizona's going to hang tough, but I think SC will pull away deep and cover the spread.
Okay. That'll do it for this episode of the Wildcast podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment the Wildcast wherever you get your podcast. Arizona versus number 9 USC, set to kick off at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN, and that game is in Los Angeles. Be sure to follow our content on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app.